The great hall of the coalition of species shone with crystal light. It was built on the station of Zerath Prime, a hub that floated above the stars like a crown of silver. Inside, dozens of alien generals, admirals, and leaders gathered around the long round table. They had come to plan the war against the Zir Dominion, the most feared empire in the galaxy. The Zir Dominion was no ordinary enemy. For centuries, their swarms of ships and armies of machines had rolled over world after world, leaving silence where cities once stood. Many species had already fallen. Those who still stood joined the coalition, binding together in a last effort to resist. Around the table, the representatives boasted of their numbers. The Gralthak, huge reptilian warriors with thick scales, pounded their fists against their armor. "We bring 3 million soldiers and 50,000 heavy war machines," their leader roared. "Our claws and plasma cannons will cut through the Dominion like paper." The Finari, a delicate but sharp-minded insectoid race, clicked their mandibles. "We bring swarms of 100 million, their commander hissed. Fast, precise, and endless. The Korath, tall beings of stone and crystal, spoke next. "We bring 10 million defenders in our fortress ships. None stand when the Korath march." On and on the voices rose. Each species spoke of great fleets, endless troops, and mighty weapons. The coalition's power was vast, and the leaders seemed certain of their victory. Then came the humans. The doors opened, and a small group entered. They were not tall, not armored like living tanks, and not surrounded by endless bodyguards. They were plain compared to the shining figures at the table. Their leader, General Marcus Hale, stepped forward. His uniform was simple, dark fabric, a few medals, a calm face with sharp eyes. Behind him stood only a few aides carrying slim data pads. The room grew quiet for a moment. Then whispers began. "Is this all of them? Where is their army? Are these children?" The Gralthak general let out a deep laugh. "Do not tell me the humans only bring this handful. Are you trying to amuse us?" General Hale's voice was steady. "Earth brings 20,000 soldiers. That is our full commitment." The hall burst into laughter. The insectoid Finari clicked with disbelief. 20,000? Against the Dominion's billions? That is not an army. It is a drop of water on burning metal. Even the Korath, who rarely showed emotion, rumbled with a low chuckle. "We respect courage, little humans. But courage cannot hold a line. You will be swept away in the first wave." The laughter echoed. Some tried to hide their smiles. Others spoke openly of how foolish it was. Yet General Hale did not react. His face remained calm, his voice firm. "Numbers alone do not win wars. We bring skill, strategy, and willpower. That will be enough." The alien generals looked at one another. To them it sounded like empty pride. Still, they let the humans take their place at the table. Later, in the preparation chambers, the alien armies gathered to show their might. The Gralthak marched in perfect lines, each warrior towering 2 meters tall, their claws sharp, their armor glowing with power. The Finari swarms filled the hangars, wings buzzing, weapons attached to their thin bodies. The Korath walked like moving mountains, each step shaking the floor. And then came the humans. The alien leaders went to see them, curious to laugh again. The human soldiers stood in rows, but not rigid like statues. Their movements were smooth, precise, almost relaxed. Their armor was light, their weapons smaller than the alien cannons. They did not seem threatening at all. The Gralthak commander sneered. "Are these soldiers? They look fragile." The Finari clicked their mandibles. "They are unarmored insects themselves. How do they expect to survive?" But when the humans began their drills, the laughter quieted just a little. The soldiers moved like flowing water, splitting into small groups, covering each other, shifting formations in seconds. Their steps made no sound, their eyes sharp, their actions fast. They did not look like a giant wall of force. They looked like something else, something more alive. General Hale watched quietly from the side, hands behind his back. He did not need to explain. The humans showed their strength through action, not words. Still, the other species did not understand. To them, size and numbers were everything. That night, as the fleets prepared to move, whispers spread again across the coalition. They will be destroyed in the first battle. They bring so little. Why do they even bother? Perhaps they wish to die with honor. But among the humans there was no fear. They moved with confidence, checked their gear, laughed quietly with one another. They looked like people who had faced storms before and were ready to face them again. The first meeting with the Zir Dominion came sooner than expected. From the edge of the Nabara system, dark shapes appeared against the stars. The Dominion fleet was massive, thousands of warships stretching across space like a black wall. Their signal echoed across all channels: surrender or be erased. The coalition fleets moved into position. Giant ships charged weapons. Massive armies prepared to launch. The alien leaders shouted orders, their voices filled with pride. And the humans? They sat calmly in their smaller transports, checking their weapons, watching quietly. One alien captain looked at them on the shared feed and scoffed. "Look, the small ones do not even tremble. They do not understand what is coming." Another replied, "No, they think courage will protect them. Soon they will learn." But the humans were not naive. They knew exactly what was coming. And unlike the others, they had prepared not for glory but for survival and victory. General Hale stood before his soldiers and spoke in a steady voice. "Tomorrow the enemy will see us. They believe we are weak. They believe we are small. Let them. When the battle begins, they will learn the truth." The soldiers answered with quiet determination, not shouting, not boasting, but ready. Outside, the stars waited, and the Zir Dominion prepared to strike. The great armies of the galaxy stood proud and tall, but among them was one small human army, mocked, underestimated, and ignored. What none of the aliens knew was that this small army would soon show the galaxy a lesson it would never forget. The stars burned bright over the Nabari system. From afar it looked peaceful, twin suns glowing, 4 planets turning slowly, a belt of ice and rock circling at the edge. But peace ended the moment the Zir Dominion arrived. Their ships poured out of the void like a flood. They were sharp, black, and endless. Each ship bristled with weapons, their armor shining with unnatural light. They moved together like one vast creature, silent and unstoppable. The coalition fleets shifted to meet them. Massive warships spread into formation. The Growlthak heavy cruisers lined the front, their claws of metal ready to strike. Behind them, the Korath fortress ships glowed with shields. Swarms of Finari buzzed through the empty space, filling it with a living storm. And in the middle of all this chaos, almost unnoticed, were the human transports. They were smaller, lighter, and carried only a fraction of soldiers compared to the others. To many, they looked like support vessels, not warriors. The Dominion moved first. From the Black Fleet came the first wave. Thousands of sleek destroyers, sharp as knives, engines burning cold blue. They opened fire in unison. The stars lit up as beams of energy cut across the void. The coalition returned fire. The Growlthak unleashed heavy cannons, each shot like a sunburst. The Korath fortress ships glowed as they pushed forward, shields holding against the storm. The Finari darted around the beams, striking with speed and precision. The battle began with thunder, light, and destruction. Inside the coalition command ship, the generals watched the clash. Hollow screens filled the air, showing fleets colliding, ships bursting into flames, and soldiers preparing to land on Nabaris IV, the nearest habitable world. The Growlthak general growled with satisfaction. "See? Already their lines bend before us," the Finari commander hissed. "Our swarms cut through their flanks. Victory is certain." The Korath leader nodded, slow and calm. "Strength will carry the day." Only General Hale remained quiet. His eyes scanned the data, looking not at the grand fleets but at the enemy's smaller movements, the fast scouts slipping past, the patterns in their fire. He saw something the others ignored. He spoke softly. "The real battle will not be won in the stars. It will be decided on the ground." On the surface of Nabaris, therefore, the Zir Dominion sent down its machines. They were tall and cold, shaped like insects but made of steel. Their legs dug into the ground. Their weapons burned with red fire. They moved in endless numbers, covering the plains like a black tide. The Growlthak were first to meet them. The great reptilian warriors roared as they charged, their massive frames crashing into the machines. Plasma cannons fired, claws tore, and the ground shook under their power. At first it seemed unstoppable, but the Dominion adapted. Their machines shifted formations, surrounding the Growlthak. Beams of energy cut through even thick scales. One by one, the mighty warriors fell. The Finari swarms descended from the sky, wings buzzing, weapons flashing. They struck fast and hard, but the Dominion counters were merciless. Anti-air fire filled the sky with red light. The swarms scattered, breaking apart. Even the Korath, with their towering crystal bodies and fortress armor, began to slow. Their heavy steps were powerful but predictable, and the machines circled around them, cutting them down with relentless fire. The coalition forces were vast, but their strength was trapped in rigid patterns. They fought bravely, but the tide of machines seemed endless. And then the humans landed. From their light transports, the 20,000 soldiers of Earth poured onto the surface. They did not march in giant blocks. They did not stand shoulder to shoulder like statues. Instead, they split instantly into squads, small flexible groups that spread across the battlefield like sparks of fire. Alien generals watching the feed were confused. Why are they breaking formation? They scatter like prey animals. This is madness. But the humans did not look like prey. Each squad moved with purpose. Some slid into the ruins of old buildings, setting up ambush points. Others rushed into the hills, planting devices and marking targets. A few squads disappeared into the shadows of the Dominion's own machines. Then the attack began. From hidden positions, humans opened fire with weapons the aliens had never seen before. Small, precise rifles that cut weak points in the machines. Drones no larger than a bird darted through the air, carrying charges that exploded at just the right joints. Electronic pulses disrupted the Dominion's targeting systems, leaving machines spinning in confusion. Where alien armies clashed like waves against rocks, the humans slipped like water through cracks. They hit and vanished, struck and vanished again. One alien officer gasped as he watched the feed. They are not fighting like an army. They are fighting like hunters. A squad of 12 humans slipped into the shadow of a massive Dominion walker. The machine was the size of a fortress, legs stabbing deep into the ground. The squad did not attack head-on. They climbed, slipping into maintenance hatches, crawling through narrow passages. Inside, they planted charges, hacked systems, and used tools to disable key parts. Within minutes, the towering machine stumbled, sparks bursting from its joints. Then it collapsed, crushing others in its fall. The alien generals stared in silence. Where thousands of soldiers had struggled to bring down one machine, a single squad of humans had done it quietly, efficiently, and without hesitation. The battle raged for hours. Everywhere the coalition forces struggled, the humans slipped in and shifted the balance. When Growlthak lines broke, human squads struck the flanks of the Dominion, drawing pressure away. When Finari swarms scattered, humans created safe zones for them to regroup. When Korath defenders were surrounded, humans cut paths through the machines, freeing them. Slowly, carefully, the endless tide of the Dominion began to falter. In the coalition command ship, silence filled the hall. The laughter that once followed the humans was gone. The generals leaned closer to the screens, watching every move. The Growlthak general muttered almost to himself. They fight without fear. The Finari commander clicked nervously. They adapt too quickly. No swarm does this. The Korath leader rumbled, his deep voice heavy with respect. They are small, but sharp, like blades hidden in the dark. General Hale stood quietly at his console. His expression did not change, but his eyes glowed with determination. He knew his soldiers were proving themselves, not with numbers, not with size, but with skill and spirit. By the time the suns of Nabaris IV set, the battlefield was scarred with fire. Smoke rose into the sky and wreckage covered the ground. The Dominion had not been defeated yet, but for the first time, they had been stopped. And at the heart of that defense were not the millions of alien soldiers, but the 20,000 humans. The aliens who had mocked them now stared in silence, the truth beginning to sink in. The small human army was not a weakness. It was something else, something the galaxy had never seen before. And this was only the beginning. The twin suns of Nabaris IV rose slowly, casting red and gold light over the battlefield. Smoke drifted across the plains where the great battle had been fought. Burnt machines lay in heaps, some still sparking with broken wires. Fallen ships dotted the horizon like dark scars. The coalition had survived the first clash, but barely. The Growlthak had lost thousands. The Finari swarms were reduced by half. Even the mighty Korath had cracks in their crystal armor. And the humans, though small in number, stood steady. Their 20,000 soldiers were still moving, still preparing, their eyes sharp despite exhaustion. In the coalition command chamber, The generals gathered again. The air was heavy, not with laughter this time, but with silence. The Growlthak general spoke first, his deep voice low. Our warriors fought with strength, but the Dominion adapts too fast. Their machines cut through even our heaviest lines. The Finari commander clicked softly. Our numbers are great, but they scatter us like dust in the wind. Alone we cannot resist them. The Korath leader stood like a stone pillar, his tone grave. Even fortress ships may fall. The Dominion's power is greater than we thought. All eyes turned to General Hale, the human commander. He stood calmly, hands behind his back. His uniform was dusty, his face tired, but his voice was clear. Your armies fight bravely, but the Dominion does not fear strength. They do not fear numbers. What they fear is the unknown. The alien stared at him, unsure. The unknown? The Finari asked. Yes, Hale answered. They are machines of habit. They study, adapt, and repeat. But when faced with something unexpected, they hesitate. That is where humans fight best, where no plan is certain, where creativity decides the battle. The generals exchanged uneasy looks. For them, war was always about patterns, formations, numbers, traditions. But humans seemed to think differently. That afternoon, the humans revealed their hidden tools. On the plains of Nabaris IV, soldiers gathered their equipment. Alien observers watched with curiosity. The Growlthak commander frowned. Those are not heavy cannons. Where are their tanks, their giant walkers? The humans carried no great machines. Instead, they had small drones, no larger than a hawk, their wings folding with a soft hum. They had rifles with changing barrels, able to fire in silence or with burning force. They had simple tools, ropes, charges, compact machines that could fit in a soldier's hand. The Finari whispered among themselves. They bring toys to a war. But when the drills began, silence fell. The drones lifted into the air, splitting into swarms of their own. Each one carried sensors, tiny explosives, or signals to confuse the enemy. They moved like a flock of birds, but each one acted with its own mind, responding to the humans' commands instantly. Then came the camouflage systems. Soldiers pressed small devices on their armor, and within seconds their forms blurred into the background. To alien eyes, they almost disappeared, becoming shadows in the sunlight. The Korath watched closely, his crystal face unreadable. Not strength of body, he murmured. Strength of mind. The next battle came 2 days later. The Dominion attacked again, this time with even greater force. Their war machines landed in waves, spreading across valleys and hills. Their ships rained fire from above. The alien armies braced themselves, but doubt weighed heavy on them now. They had seen how easily the Dominion could break their lines, and then the humans moved. They did not rush into the center like the Growlthak. They did not swarm endlessly like the Finari. They did not form a wall like the Korath. Instead, they vanished. Squads disappeared into ruins, caves, and shadows. Drones scattered into the skies, sending false signals to confuse the Dominion. Camouflage systems shimmered, hiding soldiers from sight. The humans became ghosts. The Dominion advanced, confident. Their machines scanned the fields and saw nothing. Their sensors picked up echoes, false signals, scattered noise. For the first time, the machines hesitated, and then the attacks began. From one hill, a squad launched drones that dove like falcons, striking weak points in the machines. Explosions tore through joints and engines. From another ruin, silent rifles fired, cutting down commanders before they could give orders. A massive Dominion walker stepped forward, its guns glowing. Before it could fire, charges exploded under its legs, planted earlier by human squads who had passed unseen. The walker toppled, crashing into its own forces. The alien armies, watching from behind, could not believe their eyes. The Dominion, endless and terrible, was stumbling, and the ones causing it were not the millions of warriors, but the 20,000 humans striking like hidden knives. In the coalition command ship, the generals leaned forward. Stunned, the Growlthak general muttered, "They fight like shadows. No pattern, no order, yet everything connects," the Finari commander hissed with awe. "They use so little, yet cause so much chaos. Even our swarms could not do this." The Korath leader nodded slowly. "Now I understand. Their power is not in size. It is in surprise." General Hale said nothing. He only watched, his eyes calm, as his soldiers turned the tide of battle. As the day went on, the humans revealed more. They used electromagnetic pulses to disable entire groups of machines. They hacked enemy signals, turning the Dominion's own weapons against them. They planted traps that seemed simple, Holes, wires, smoke, but worked perfectly to confuse the machines. Even their psychology became a weapon. Humans shouted across the battlefield, tricking Dominion units into chasing ghosts. They created false retreats, then circled around to strike from behind. They fought with laughter, with shouts, with a spirit that no machine could understand. To the aliens, it looked like madness. But it worked. By nightfall, the Dominion retreated, leaving wreckage behind. The Coalition had won its second battle, not because of overwhelming numbers, but because of human unpredictability. That night, in the quiet of the camp, the alien soldiers whispered among themselves. A Growlthak warrior spoke softly to his comrade. "We mocked them. We thought them weak. But I saw 12 of them bring down a machine that crushed 50 of us. I will never laugh again," a Finari scout clicked nervously. "They are dangerous. Not because of size, because no one knows what they will do next." Even a Korath guardian, slow to speak, admitted, "They are small, but small fires can burn forests." In the command chamber, the generals gathered once more. The Growlthak general turned to Hale. "Your soldiers are unlike any we have seen. How do they fight with such freedom? Do they not fear chaos?" General Hale answered quietly. "They do not fear it. They were born in it. On Earth, history is filled with storms, wars, and disasters. To survive, humans learn to adapt, to think differently. That is what makes them strong." The Finari commander tilted his head. "Then your weakness is your strength." "Yes," Hale said simply. "We are few. We are small. But we are never predictable. That is why the Dominion cannot defeat us." The Korath leader bowed his crystal head slowly. "Then perhaps it is time we stop calling you small." The war was far from over. The Dominion still had endless fleets, endless machines, and endless hunger. But now the Coalition had seen something new. They had seen the humans, their strange weapons, their hidden tactics, their fearless spirit. And though the galaxy had once mocked them, now a quiet respect grew. The small human army had become something far greater. The knife in the dark, the fire in the storm, the spark that could change everything. The war stretched on. Weeks turned into months. Across star systems, the coalition of species clashed with the Zir Dominion again and again. Planets burned, skies filled with fire, and fleets rose and fell in endless battles. The Dominion was vast, and for every ship destroyed, 2 more seemed to arrive. For every machine shattered on the ground, another wave descended. The coalition fought bravely, but slowly their strength began to fade. Yet through it all, one truth became clear. Wherever the humans fought, the Dominion struggled. Battles that seemed hopeless turned into narrow victories. Strongholds that looked lost were saved at the last moment by squads of human soldiers. The small army of Earth was no longer mocked. It was whispered about, respected, and even feared. In the grand command chamber of the coalition, the generals gathered once more. Holograms of battle maps glowed above the table, showing red markers spreading across the galaxy. The advance of the Dominion. The Growlthak general's voice was heavy. "They do not tire. They do not fear. If this continues, the coalition will break within a year." The Finari commander hissed softly. "Our numbers dwindle. We cannot replace our swarms as quickly as they are destroyed." The Korath leader's tone was like stone grinding. "We are strong, but strength cannot hold forever. We need more than walls. We need a strike that cuts deep." General Hale stood silently, studying the map. His eyes narrowed as he focused on the largest red marker, a moving symbol that glowed brighter than all the rest. "The Dominion's war engine," he said at last. The aliens looked at him. The word itself carried fear. The war engine was no ordinary ship or machine. It was a moving fortress larger than a city, armed with weapons that could crack a planet's crust. It traveled with the Dominion's main fleet, crushing every defense in its path. Worlds that faced it had no chance. Entire civilizations fell when the war engine arrived. The Growlthak growled. "We have thrown fleets against it." None returned. The Finari clicked their mandibles nervously. "Even swarms cannot reach it. Its shields cut us down before we are close." The Korath bowed his heavy head. "Against it there is no wall strong enough." General Hale's voice was steady. "Then we will not fight it with walls. We will fight it from within." The alien general stared in silence. His words seemed impossible, but to the humans it was the only path forward. The plan was simple in words, but deadly in truth. The great armies of the coalition would strike at the Dominion fleet, drawing out its defenders. Meanwhile, the small human army would slip past the chaos, infiltrate the war engine, and destroy it from inside. The alien leaders were uncertain. Some feared it was madness. Others thought it was suicide. But deep inside, they remembered all the times humans had done the impossible, and so they agreed. The day of the assault came. In orbit above the barren world of Zadris, the Dominion's war engine appeared. It was larger than mountains, glowing with power, moving through space like a god of metal. Its weapons flared, destroying entire ships with single shots. The Coalition charged. Fleets of Grauthak heavy cruisers, swarms of Finari, fortress ships of Korath, all of them hurled themselves at the monster. The sky filled with explosions as the Dominion's defenders clashed with the Coalition. Amid the chaos, the human transports broke away, moving in the shadows. They slipped between wreckage through fire under the cover of signals and false readings. The Dominion's sensors, designed to track giant fleets, did not see them. General Hale stood on the lead transport, his eyes fixed on the war engine. His soldiers were calm, their faces set with quiet determination. He spoke to them with steady words. "Every army here fights with us, but only we can finish this. The galaxy does not believe it can be done. Let us prove them wrong." The soldiers answered not with shouts but with silence and nods. Their courage was steady like a flame that did not waver. The transports reached the war engine. Its surface was a wall of black steel, glowing with red lines of energy. Cannons the size of towers turned and fired, striking distant fleets. But the humans slipped close, landing against the hull. Squads poured out, attaching magnetic clamps to climb the massive surface. Drones spread in every direction, scanning for weak points. Engineers planted charges, blasting open small entry holes. One by one, the squads disappeared into the shadows of the machine. Inside the war engine was a labyrinth. Endless halls of metal stretched into the distance, filled with humming power lines and patrols of Dominion machines. The air vibrated with the deep pulse of its engines. The humans did not move like invaders. They moved like ghosts. Squads split, mapping paths, planting charges, avoiding patrols. Silent rifles cut down guards without noise. Drones flew ahead, marking paths through the maze. In the Coalition command ship, alien generals watched the feed with awe. The Grauthak general whispered, "They climb a fortress like ants climbing a mountain." The Finari commander hissed in disbelief. No swarm could survive there. Yet they move as if the fortress is theirs. The Korath leader bowed his head slowly. "Now I see. Only humans could walk such paths." Deep inside the war engine, the squads reached the central power core. It glowed like a sun, energy flowing through massive conduits. The heat was intense, the air trembling with raw force. General Hale's voice came through the comms. "This is it. Plant the charges. Once this core falls, the monster dies." The soldiers worked quickly, setting explosives on the conduits, linking charges to trigger together. Every move was precise, practiced, and calm, but the Dominion had noticed. Sirens blared. Machines poured into the halls, tall, sharp, endless. The humans were surrounded. The battle inside the war engine was fierce. Soldiers fired from cover. Drones dove into enemy lines, charges exploded in tight spaces. The humans moved as one, covering each other, pulling wounded comrades, never breaking formation. Alien generals watching from afar held their breath. They had seen humans fight before, but never like this. Here, in the heart of the enemy, the small army fought not just for survival, but for the galaxy itself. At last, the charges were set. The squads pulled back, racing through the twisting halls. Explosions shook the war engine as the core overloaded. Energy arcs burst across the walls, tearing apart the giant machine from within. On the surface, flames erupted as sections of the war engine collapsed. Its weapons went silent, its shields flickered and failed. The great monster that had crushed worlds began to break apart. The Coalition fleet saw it happen. Cheers rose across the channels. The Grauthak roared with triumph. The Finari clicked in excitement. Even the Korath, slow and solemn, let out a deep cry of victory. The Dominion forces, stunned, faltered. Without their war engine, their fleet wavered, their machines hesitated. For the first time in the war, they pulled back. Inside the collapsing fortress, the humans fought their way out. Fires burned, metal twisted, halls crumbled. But they did not panic. Step by step, they pushed forward, carrying each other, guiding one another through falling corridors. General Hale was the last to leave. He stood at the final hatch, making sure every soldier passed through before he followed. As the last transport lifted away, the war engine exploded in a burst of light that lit the stars. When the battle ended, silence filled the command chamber. The alien generals looked at one another. Their faces changed. No one mocked, no one doubted, no one questioned anymore. The Growlthak general bowed his head. "Your small army has done what millions of us could not. We will never call you weak again," the Fenari commander whispered. "They fight as if every battle is their last, and that is why they win." The Korath leader placed a crystal hand over his chest. "From this day we call you not small but strong. Stronger than any measure of numbers." General Hale simply nodded. "It was not strength alone. It was trust, discipline, and will. That is what makes us human." The war was not yet over. The Dominion still stretched across the stars, still sent endless fleets and machines. But the galaxy had changed that day. For the first time, the Dominion had fallen back. For the first time, hope spread across the coalition. And at the heart of that hope was the small army of Earth. The soldiers once mocked, now proven as the spark that could turn darkness into light. The stars burned cold over the battlefield, but the heat of battle lingered in the hearts of every soldier. The Dominion fleet was retreating, shattered and disorganized, but their threat remained. Across the galaxy, worlds that had once feared the machines of Zir now watched in wonder as the small human army changed the course of war. On Nebaris IV, the coalition forces gathered after their latest victory. Ships hovered in orbit, repairing, resupplying, preparing for the next move. The Growlthak, Fenari, and Korath forces moved carefully, wary but inspired. And in the middle of it all, the humans stood quietly, cleaning their weapons, tending to the wounded, checking drones and gear. The alien leaders could not stop staring. The Growlthak general shook his head in disbelief. "I thought bravery could only go so far. But these humans, they bend the very rules of battle." The Fenari commander clicked softly, a sound almost like awe. "Even their tactics confuse machines. Even their smallest squads change the flow of a fight. No one else could do this." The Korath leader's crystal eyes glowed slowly. "They are small, yet they carry a universe of courage in their hearts. I have seen warriors of stone fail where these humans succeed." General Hale moved through the ranks, his gaze steady, watching his soldiers. They were exhausted, some bruised and scratched, yet all were alive, alert, and calm. He addressed them quietly. "Today we showed them what it means to be human. Not because we are the strongest, but because we never give up. We adapt, we survive, and we fight for each other." His soldiers nodded. No one cheered. No one shouted. They knew their work was far from done. But there was a pride in their calm faces that no alien army had ever seen. The Dominion, meanwhile, had retreated to their stronghold in a distant system. But the humans were not done. Scouts reported that their retreat was not complete. Machines were regrouping. Ships were repairing. A single human voice reminded them all of the next step. "We must finish what we started," General Hale said. "We will strike where they think we cannot. We will show the galaxy the full measure of human courage." The alien generals nodded, for the first time fully trusting a human plan. The small army would lead the next strike, and for the first time others followed without question. The mission was daring. The human army split into squads, each with its own objective. Some would infiltrate the Dominion's shipyards to destroy new war machines. Others would cut off supply lines, preventing reinforcements. The largest squads would enter the heart of the Dominion fleet, targeting command ships and power cores. Every squad moved like a shadow, silent and precise. The Dominion expected only large fleets, predictable attacks, and frontal assaults. They did not expect humans to slip through defenses, moving like whispers among giants. On board a human transport, Marcus Hale addressed a squad leader. "Remember, this is not about glory. It is about precision. One mistake could cost worlds. Trust your training. Trust each other." The squad leader nodded. A young woman named Lieutenant Kara Vance. Her eyes were steady, reflecting the calm courage of the entire human army. "We will not fail, sir." The first strike hit the Dominion shipyards. Human drones zipped through the air, cutting communication lines, planting charges, and avoiding patrols. Explosions shook the yards, destroying massive machines before they could leave. The Dominion soldiers panicked, unable to locate the attackers. Next, the squads moved to the supply lines. With stealth and speed, humans sabotaged fuel and energy supplies, leaving Dominion reinforcements stranded. Machines that had been feared across the galaxy fell quietly, defeated not by strength but by cunning and preparation. Finally, the largest squads approached the heart of the fleet. Massive command ships loomed like black citadels in the void. Cannons flared, engines burned, and alarms blared. The Dominion thought the humans would retreat. They thought small numbers could never reach such targets. They were wrong. Using cloaking systems, drones, and precise timing, the humans infiltrated the ships. They avoided detection, neutralized patrols, and planted charges in vital areas. Every move was calculated, every step measured. The Dominion command tried to coordinate defenses, but the humans were everywhere at once. Ghosts that could not be predicted. Inside a command ship, Lieutenant Kara Vance led her squad to the control core. Red lights flashed, warning of incoming charges. Machines moved to intercept, but the squad acted as one, defending each other, covering corridors, and planting explosives exactly where they were needed. Outside, the alien allies watched in stunned silence. "They are perfect," a Finari commander whispered. "No other species could move like this," a Grelthak added. "They are not just soldiers," a Korath intoned. "They are artists of war." When the charges detonated, the fleet shuddered. Massive explosions lit the stars, tearing apart ships, destroying engines, and crippling the Dominion's power. The human squads retreated, moving through corridors now twisting with smoke and fire, guiding each other through the chaos. In orbit, the coalition fleets cheered, not loudly, but in quiet relief. For the first time, the Dominion's strength was broken. Their fleet was scattered, their machines destroyed, their empire shaken. The humans returned to their transports, weary but alive. No one doubted their courage. The small army of Earth had done the impossible again. On the command deck of the coalition flagship, alien generals approached General Hale. The Grelthak general bowed deeply. "You have done what millions could not. Your army is small, but your courage is unmatched. You have shown us the true meaning of strength." The Finari commander clicked softly, her wings trembling. "They fight with no fear, no hesitation. We thought them weak, but they are the sharpest edge of all." The Korath leader placed a heavy hand on the table. "From this day, humans are no longer merely part of the coalition. They are the symbol of hope, the spark that can ignite victory where others fail." Hale nodded quietly. "We fight because we must. We win because we work together. That is what it means to be human." Word spread quickly across the galaxy. Stories of the human army's courage reached every planet. Civilizations once paralyzed by fear of the Dominion now felt hope. They spoke of 20,000 humans who had done what millions of others could not. They spoke of courage, precision, and unbreakable spirit. Even the Dominion in its retreat had begun to whisper. Commanders asked each other how such a small force could defeat their greatest machines. Soldiers feared the humans not because of size but because of willpower, strategy, and the courage to act when others would hesitate. Back on Nabaris IV, as the coalition prepared to regroup, Hale walked among his soldiers. He saw their tired faces, the scratches, the bruises, the dust of battle. Yet he also saw something more: pride, determination, and a calm readiness for what was next. He spoke to them simply. "Today the galaxy has seen what humans can do. You have fought not for glory, but for life. You have fought not for numbers, but for heart. Remember this. It is not the size of the army, but the courage inside it that wins wars." The soldiers nodded quietly. They did not need to cheer. Their actions spoke louder than words. That night, under the stars of Nabaris IV, the alien generals gathered privately. They spoke in low voices, no longer dismissing humans. "They are not like us," the Grelthak said. "They think differently. They fight differently, and yet they succeed." "They have spirit," said the Finari commander, "a kind of spirit I have never seen before." "They are small in number," the Korath concluded, "but larger than any army in courage and will." And so, the galaxy learned a lesson it would never forget. Humans were not the largest, nor the strongest, nor the most armored, but they were cunning, adaptive, and brave. They were unpredictable, relentless, and fearless. And in the end, that was enough. In the years that followed, the Dominion never again underestimated humans. Their soldiers whispered fearfully whenever human forces appeared. Their commanders learned to respect strategy, spirit, and courage over sheer numbers. The small human army of Earth, once mocked and overlooked, became legendary. They were celebrated not for size but for the heart, intelligence, and determination that no machine or enemy could ever defeat. And somewhere in the stars, General Marcus Hale looked at his soldiers and said quietly, "We are few, but we are strong. We are small, but we are unstoppable. This is the human way. The galaxy would never doubt humans again."